Maybe.
It's not. It says we're live.
It does, but it's not loading the music. Oh, if it's not one thing, it's always another, isn't it? Here we go.
This is Dalton Castle, the Ring of Honor World Champion. Behind me is music that they do not have the license to, but you are listening to the Potsy and Tino show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Road Dog Tino Gray, the badass Rob Potsy Pochak. I don't know what Tino's even drinking.
I'm a certified G and a bona fide stud. Bada boo, realest guy in the room. How you doing?
Our theme song is always brought to you by Adam's House Cat, though we may be changing that in the near future. Whether or not Tino actually gets our new song going or not, I have some people that are working on something. So with that,
It's the Posse and Tino show, so I do get the veto if I don't like it.
I think you'll like it.
Well, if I don't like it, I get to veto it. I get to say.
I think you'll like it. Anyways, that's right. He's Tino. I'm Potsy. We're the Potsy and Tino show. We're here almost, and when we say almost, we mean what, 45 weeks out of the year?
That wasn't my fault.
No. I mean, last week it was. What was it?
You got to win.
Oh yeah, I was at a friend of mine's wedding. Actually, two friends of mine. And then Friday, I also had a wedding. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here. So I apologize for that. We already have Michael Turner in the audience. Said we had someone else. By all means, join in the chat as you get the opportunities. Obviously, we changed our format a couple weeks ago. We obviously do our What's Up With You. Then we talk about either WWE or AEW. Based on the week that we want to discuss. But Tino, like I said at the beginning, we always start with what's up with you?
Actually just been working. I got a gig tomorrow night, so I'll be in Woody's City Market in Raleigh tomorrow night, which is Friday night, 9 to 12. So coming out if you get a chance to do that. And then Sunday, I got to go down to Kinston, North Carolina, for my grandmother's church is honoring her. So my grandmother will be 92 in December, and so we figured out she's been going to this church for like over 50 years. So as long as I've been alive, she's been going to this church, and she's always been in like with the the women's choir, the women's everything. So now they're honoring her Sunday. So we're going down to Kinston to watch her get honored and hang out with her and uncles and cousins, and chill on Sunday, have a good time, and come back. So pretty cool weekend.
That's wow. Wow. I know my mom has been going to the same church now for 30 years, and before that she went to the same church probably for the 15 years that we lived in New York, and before that like the same 20 years before that church in Philadelphia. So I mean that's crazy. That's kind of unheard of, and that's truly respectable. I was going to bring up somebody that we lost that wasn't necessarily wrestling related, but was definitely influential in culture, and that was Richard Roundtree passed away this week.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't see that. I don't know how I missed that. Wow.
Right? Like, I don't want to take away from your grandmother, obviously, but but you know, like culturally, Richard Roundtree, his Shaft is huge in like I said, not necessarily in pro wrestling, but you can kind of see where that character has definitely helped model some of the pro wrestlers over time. So and just the actor himself. I mean, I if I remember correctly, wasn't he in Mars Attacks?
I think so.
Yeah. So so I mean, like he didn't just do the badass like private investigator guy like Shaft. He also pretty much played the same exact character, but in a much lighter tone in movies like that. So um anything else going on with you? Like what's up with the family? We haven't talked to you in a couple weeks.
Not much. Matthew is still playing football. I think they got a bye this weekend. So if he wins the game on the 11th, which is in Charlotte, then he goes back to the playoff game, which is in Charlotte the following week. And if they win that, they go to the championships, which is going to be in Orlando, Florida in December. So,
That's not even state championships.
no, that's nationals.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow. And I noticed a couple weeks ago maybe that there was a post that you put about like something about how your second child tends to cause so much more uh, uh, hair loss, if you will, than the first child seems to. So would you like to explain a little bit about that?
I don't remember. Was that the one with the picture with the mama gorilla looking at the baby gorilla?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah,
It
they're
was.
saying they said the second child is the one that tries you the most, and it's true. Haley was, she was good, and she had her moments, but this one here likes to test me.
But and you know what's funny is like my sister Shorty, Michelle is actually the second, and she was the one that like my sister Carrie Ann, the oldest, would never try anything. She was always, Mom won't approve of that. Mom won't do that. My yeah, and then all of a sudden Michelle's like, well, I'm gonna fucking try it, and, and of course it was always because Dad loves me more than he loves everybody else, so I don't have to worry about anything. And it always made me laugh because she got in so much more trouble than any of us ever could. And we had two other kids after that. So of course I didn't get in any trouble because I really didn't do anything, because anything I did, they'd already expect me doing. So it wasn't like I had to ever have to worry about that. And then my brother
is
was
he
the
is he the youngest?
yeah, Dave's the youngest. He
Oh,
doesn't, trust me, I know he doesn't look it, but he is. Um, but he was the baby, so all he ever had to do was go meh, and before you know it, like you weren't allowed to do anything to put him back in place, because we all thought we knew how to actually like fix his attitude, make sure that because my little brother was a little asshole. And just to give everybody a story here, there was one time, my friend Fubar.
mm-hmm.
Well, John Fubar, and it was is basically a surrogate family member, kind of like you are. Like if we were to go on a family trip, and let's say Nicole and Matthew and Haley were out of town, and we were going on a trip, and we said, "Hey, Tino, do you want to go?" And you were like, "Sure, I'll go." Like you'd be included in everything, just like every other family member.
Right.
That's just the way it is. And John is like that. So we went up to the Jersey Shore one year, and everybody left, and my brother was being just a dick about things. And I'm going to say right now on this show, and people may not believe me, but I have never lifted a hand to my brother. Okay. I have held him down. I have stopped him from hitting me, but I have never lifted a hand to my brother. And not a lot of people can say that when they're the older brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did something where I was like, you need to stop, you need to cut it out, you need to not do this. And even Fubar at that point was like, hey, Right. Like if anybody else shows up while you guys are arguing like this, they're gonna kick you out. You're gonna have to go home. And you're not gonna be invited back to the beach house that, the families would get every year. He wasn't hearing it. He started doing this number and everything. And I mean, his punches literally looked like,
How old was he?
dude, he was over 21 at this point because we were going out to bars and stuff like me and John, and I think John's actually a year younger than Dave, so we were going out to bars and stuff, and so finally I was just like, you need to stop. I'm not dealing with this shit, and so I grabbed his arm, held him back, and then before you know it, we're like he's like trying to wrestle me, and I was bigger than him. I always have been. And he kicks me in the nuts. But I still had control of the situation. So when he kicked me in the nuts, I fell down and he's underneath me. Now, at this point, I've got that. You ever been kicked by a soccer ball in like the chest?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You ever just had somebody like to the nuts,
Yeah,
right?
you get that coppery taste in your mouth and like you're about to throw up.
Like blood, even though
Yeah.
there's no blood. But you also have that moment where you're like, okay, that wasn't so.
Yes.
Well, it was one of those. And I'm sitting there and like my eyes are tearing up and everything else. And I'm just holding him down. And I'm like, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. And before you know it, family starts walking in the door. And of course, it looks like I'm beating the shit out of my little brother. Now, to this day, he probably still says I beat the shit out of him. But John Fubar is sitting there going, because everybody's like, get the hell off of him. And and I'm like, I'm just trying to calm him down. And everybody's like, get off of him, blah, blah, blah. Like, if there was a weapon, I probably would have been tased. Okay. Let me just put it that way. Even in my own family, I probably would have been tased at this moment. And John is like, no, guys, Rob didn't do anything. And they're like, you're not really family. We don't believe you. So it's like, oh, he's family until the baby is getting his ass beat because he kicked someone in the nuts and they fell on top of him. That's literally what happened. And of course, for the rest of the trip, it was, I can't believe you'd ever attack your brother and blah, blah. And I'm like, you fuckers really don't know what the hell. Like, next time I'm setting up cameras. Like,
ridiculous.
So that's, and my brother and I have a okay relationship. We, it's just Tino, do you know what short man syndrome is?
Yep.
Okay.
Napoleon complex.
And even worse than that, like the Napoleon complex is definitely, I mean, I think he had that, right? But and I'm just gonna ask this, and you're gonna tell me yes, even though I don't think it's true. Would you say I have short man syndrome? You want to say yes, but do I really?
Yes.
I don't get angry all that often.
You don't get angry, but you like to compensate sometimes. Like, dude, just calm down.
Well, I mean, recently, I even said to you before we got on the show, like what's been going on with you? Because you've been angry more often than I have recently.
Because you aggravate me.
Trying to make the show worth watching, but
no, we be honest with each other. Shit,
but my brother, I mean, like,
he's a character.
I don't know what it is, but like, if I have it, he has it in spades.
Oh, I know.
And but like that story that I just told, I literally, I'm not even trying to fabricate any of it. Like I'm not trying to embellish. I'm not trying to make myself look better as a better. I literally was like, I just don't want to get kicked out of this house, and then I got kicked in the nuts. So of course I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hold both of your arms, and I'm gonna, like MMA style, like try to defend myself. But I don't know MMA, so I don't know how to hide, like block a kick to the groin, or like not while you got both hands and you're like, you know so so of course he took the easy way out. Anyways, my point to all this is that, like, he's always been that type of person, and I really wish that he would allow himself the moment, like, the moments of clarity, so that he can actually see where he messed up in a lot of those spots. Because
Mm.
if it was drinking induced or whatever, the one thing that I think a lot of people would say, even when I'm drinking, is that I'm typically the same person. Like, do I get louder? Yeah, I think everybody does. Sometimes do I exude a little bit more euphoria, where I'm like, oh, we're at a club and I'm sitting here going like this when I don't ever do this. Yeah, you know what I mean. But, like, for the most part, I'm
You,
the exact I'm
you
the
touch your,
exact same person.
you touch your feelings. You get drunk, you want to hug me all the time. I'm like, if you don't get the fuck off me.
And that's because we're two big dudes, and at some point, one of us, like, and it's probably gonna be me, is just not gonna be here anymore. So, I
Yeah,
want to those moments, and
yeah.
and and as I get older, I definitely am more I love you, man. And it's funny to me because, by the way, folks, Tino and I say we love each other all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
How I say I love you, and he goes, I love you.
I say I love you.
No, you don't. You don't. I don't think you've ever actually said love you or I love you, man. You always say I love you. Well, he's laughing right now because he knows that's exactly how it comes out of his mouth every time. And it's because he's still at that point in his manhood. Can't tell another man straight up, I love you. He can't do it.
I tell my
And
dad. I tell my dad. I just tell my dad and my grandfather. Yeah, I tell him. Yeah, I say.
I bet you tell Nicole you love her.
Yes,
Because, well, first of all, she's a teacher. So if you didn't enunciate your words, she's going to call you out on that shit.
I say it to Matthew.
He's your son.
Oh, okay.
He probably doesn't say it back. He probably
Oh,
says,
he does.
no, he probably says, I love you.
No, he enunciates. You're right.
Now
'Cause
you're going
Nicole's
to
like,
listen.
Nicole's
Here's
like, what?
what he actually does. You probably never paid attention. You were like, all right, I got enough. But now you're going to listen to it. You're going to hear him. And you're going to be like, shit, Rob's right. Because you know what? I bet it's the same thing as taking the picture for him. He can't smile in a picture right now at his age. He's at that age where he's just like, I can't do it. No, not gonna happen. But I bet it's the same shit. And dude, by the way, I know exactly what you mean, because I'll tell you, my mom, every time she sits there, instead of saying I love you when she gets off the phone, she says love you. Now, means the same thing.
Yeah,
It's just what she's comfortable saying, right? Me, I got to the point where, I almost died. We know that.
yeah.
Had heart surgery. So when I tell someone, like, I was on the phone with Mark the other day. The other day is the first time I did not tell Mark I love him on on the way off the phone call. And I don't know how long, but I know that it makes him uncomfortable when I say it. And he sits there and he's like, love you too. Love you too. Like, I mean, I like Bono. I like the band. I mean, I get it, but I mean, but anyways, it just makes me laugh. And I'm not telling you need to change. I know what it means, but there is a difference, and it is something where it's the struggle of man. And you can like I love that you're laughing about it because but it's true. It's the struggle of man to be able to sit there and tell another man that they love them. You have no problem telling your son because A, you're the alpha in that situation. So you can sit there and say it, and he can look at you and be like, uh-huh. Haley tells you she loves you. You say you love her. Female can easily say it. Nicole, guarantee, but like with Nicole, if you said I love you, I guarantee she'd sit there and call you out on your English enunciation.
I'm gonna try it later.
You should.
Let's see.
If she didn't hear this, you definitely should. But I'm serious. I think that's and it's because we grew up in a society where as a guy, you don't ever tell another guy that you love him. You don't. I'm sorry, I just read the shut your mouth and I was like, when did he say that? It's like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, he said we talking about Shaft. I said, shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Michael Turner says, I hate all you, LOL. We don't love them hoes.
Michael knows we love him too. That's the fun about it.
Oh God,
anyway,
that was funny. That's funny.
You know, even my little brother, I love him to death. But you know, like when I was growing up, the last thing I'll say about this specific moment is that my dad used to get so mad at my sister Shorty, right? Because she was obviously his favorite. Obvious, even though I was the namesake, she was the favorite. She would get in all the trouble. So he would get so mad that he would sit there and say, I don't have to like you, but because we're family, I have to love you.
Yep.
You know, and then it softened up and he's like, I love you, but I don't have to like you. You know, it's the opposite. But he would say that all the time. And it was like, we never really knew what it meant, but we did. You know what I mean? So, this week, what's up with me? Just real quick. Saturday, well, last week I had to go to a wedding on Thursday, which is why we didn't do the show. It was for my friends Jesse and Dom, two of my favorite people in the entire world. They're absolutely amazing people. They got married on a Thursday night. They had karaoke at the reception, which was awesome. You know, how often do you get to just enjoy yourself and sing songs that mean nothing about marriage? You know, like because like every song about love seems to be the opposite of what a wedding is. So it's like, should I sing? No, I probably shouldn't sing that. This ain't a love song. No, I probably shouldn't sing that. You know what I mean? So like so many different songs that you just go, nope, gotta pick. Okay, we'll do this one, this one, this one, this one, and that's it. Friday had another wedding, and Tino, I have a long story. Can I tell it, or should we?
No, because we probably ain't gonna have a lot of wrestling because I don't remember a lot of shit from last week.
I mean, there's 2 weeks of wrestling, but you and I kind of talked about what we're really going to focus on. So my buddy Chris, who works at Ruckus, him, Terrence, our buddy Kesh, and I all got invited to this wedding for a couple that one of the girl, Sam, was actually like a hostess at Ruckus for like a year and a half, whatever. She got introduced to our buddy Chris by our friend Kelly, who passed away. And they just kind of hit it off and like for 3 years have been dating. So they finally decided they're going to get hitched. And they go to this place in like Stokedale, North Carolina, which is like right out of Saxapaw. Okay. So yeah, exactly. Okay. Easiest way to say it is it's like just past Greensboro.
Okay.
So Chris decides he's going to ride with me. So he drops his car off at my place.
Chris Edge? No, Chris from Ruckus.
No, Chris from Ruckus, the bigger dude with the
Yeah.
ponytail, and he decides he's going to drop his car off at my place. I went out and I bought a suit like beforehand because I was like, I don't know if my old suit's going to fit me. And this place was like no sneakers, no, like shirt and tie, blah blah blah. And I'm like, really? Like what the fuck? Like I just went to a karaoke joint where people got married, and you're sitting here doing it at like a mansion kind of shit. Yeah, and it was. I mean, well, Chris and I get into town like an hour early because I was like, hey, let's leave my place at like 1. He's thinking the thing starts at 3. We're figuring we get in around 2:30. We find out that it doesn't start till 3:30. Which, by the way, we were there at 3:15. We sat until 4:05 before they actually started the ceremony.
Oh yeah.
But we get down there, and as we're 15 minutes away, he goes, "You want to stop at a bar?" I'm like, "Sure. We'll go stop at a bar. We'll get a beer. We'll get a shot. Whatever. Like, got plenty of time. We're gonna be out here until like it was, like I said, 2:30. We're gonna be out here until like 9. So plenty of time to have a drink or two. Like drink some water, whatever. Blah blah blah. Have the hour drive back. Da 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 da. So we're driving down there, and he looks up, and he on his phone he's looking up different bars while my GPS is still taking us closer to the place. And he goes, all right, this one looks like it's like a mile and a half from where we have to go. And I'm like, what's it called? And he goes, well, it's called the Early Times Blue Collar Bar. All right, well, we're dressed in suits. We might as well go to this place. Like, we're definitely working men, right? Like, that's what we look like. So I start joking with him that we should even come up with a story in case anybody goes, where y'all from, anything else. So I joked we should be toilet salesmen. Just out of nowhere. And we started like trying to come up with like the name of toilet brands and everything. And it was pretty funny. We're just shooting the shit, laughing the whole way. And I sit there and I go, hey, we're about 10 minutes out. Should we message Terrence and let him know where we're going? And by the way, this statement that I'm about to make is going to sound really bad. Okay. Don't get me
canceled.
Don't get me canceled, but it's funny. And he's like, Chris says, we'll let him know when we get there. And I'm like, okay. So I pull into the parking lot. I start parking the car, and Chris looks back at the building, and he goes, hey, Rob, it says no colors. And I'm like, what? Like, I was like, are you saying that it's a good thing we didn't tell Terrence that we stopped here? And he goes, no. He said no colors, like motorcycle.
Biker ball.
And I'm like, I didn't hear it correctly. But let me just put it this way.
You're racist.
No, not at all. But we walk into the place. There's 6 people in there. They're all white rednecks. And the bartender, as we walk up to the bar, looks at us and goes, y'all in the right place? I look up, and there is a flag of Donald Trump looking like Rambo with like a Gatling gun in his hands. And Chris looks at her and goes, this is a bar, right? And she's like, well, yeah. And he goes, then I think we're in the right place. We're just trying to get a couple drinks before we go to this wedding. And she goes, are y'all members? Now, mind you, I want to let you know, out of the 6 people, 3 of them are smoking cigarettes in the bar. They have a cigarette pull machine in the corner of the bar. And Chris goes, no, we're not members. We literally, we're going to a wedding, a mile and a half down the road, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, all right, well, I'll tell you what. Y'all look okay. But if anybody asks, we didn't see y'all. because I guess she didn't want to charge us a membership fee or whatever, right? So, sure, whatever. So Chris and I sit there, we take a shot of Jim Beam, because of course she goes, "What are you drinking?" And we're like, "Bourbon." And she goes, "All right, you guys are cool." This dude walks up and he goes, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "Jim Beam." And he goes, "All right." I wanted to sit there, look at him and go, "White Claw."
You should say Bud Light.
Probably. Dude, the place did have some really funny signs in it. Like, for example, one of the signs in the place said, "Men, no shirts, no shoes, no service." But then below that it said, "Women, no shirts, free beer." And I was like, all right, I can see that. I can see that.
So did you call Terrence to come meet you?
No, we did not. We did actually message him, and he was like, nah, I'm still like 30 minutes out, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, okay, cool. So we ended up getting another beer, and then we're sitting there talking about hockey, talking about this, that, whatever. They're all talking about different things. Chris is entering the conversation. Chris is like, "Dude, I didn't have anything to worry about. They weren't gonna sit there and kick me out of the bar because I work in a bar. That I would sit there and just talk about bar shit, and they'd be like, okay, cool, whatever." And when they were like, "So y'all," they kept asking us if we were there for so, because apparently where we were in North Carolina was like furniture convention week or something, and they kept asking us if we were from like Ashley Home Rental, because we were dressed in suits. Now, I didn't have my suit coat on because, well, the place, I'm glad I didn't. The place smelled like, an ashtray. But they kept asking us questions about, like, were we from furniture places? And I was like, no, but the joke was I was going to tell you all I sell toilets for a living. And they were like, why would you do that? And I was like, well, I figured you guys would want one of Biden's bidets. And they kind of looked at it, looked at me for a second. They're like, "I wouldn't mind shitting on his face." Okay, cool, whatever. And then as we got ready to leave, they're sitting there. They're like, "Y'all are cool. Why don't you come back after the wedding?" We were like, "Sure." We got in the car. We drove to the wedding. Had a great time at the wedding. And then, like, literally because of all the the MAGA stuff and everything else in there, we're sitting there talking to our buddy Kesh, and we're talking to Terrence. And
Terrence said you didn't text him.
what's that?
Terrence said you didn't text him.
Oh, then I guess sorry, we didn't. I guess we didn't. We talked about it immediately upon getting there, and I don't know. I guess we didn't text him. I apologize for that misstatement there.
So there was MAGA stuff at the wedding or in that bar?
In the bar. Now, the wedding was at this mansion, and Tino, have you ever been in a mansion that had photos and paintings of different things from around the same mansion?
What? No. What?
So literally, this mansion, when you would walk around and look at the walls and see all the paintings and everything, the paintings were of other areas of the mansion.
Okay. No. No.
Like Terrence said, we didn't think it was a good idea.
Probably a good thing.
Well, yes. And then when we were getting ready to leave the wedding, Chris and I kept joking, "Oh, do y'all want to go out there?" And of course, Terrence and Kesh are both like, "Sure, we'll go out there." And it's like, no. And I was quite tired by that point anyway, so I was like,
it wouldn't have ended well.
I'm not sure it would have. Anyways, this weekend, much simpler thing. I will be in Fayetteville for Halloween Comic Fest at Dragon's Lair. So I'll be making an appearance at one of my favorite shops, and I'll be selling different junior high horrors comics, doing sketches, and of course talking about Zor, which is coming up in February. So, you ready to talk about wrestling?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't even realize Terrence was in the audience. Did he say hi before he
No.
started? No, he didn't text me. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
Damn.
He probably bounced in right as right as that all happened. So, all right, what do you want to talk about first, WWE or AEW?
Let's go get AEW out of the way.
All right, so we got a couple things that we want to talk about with AEW. Specifically, I want to start with the fact that, is it just me, or are they making MJF the focal point of like every story in AEW right now? And I was about to say, except the tag teams, except he's even the focal point of one of the tag team matches now at Full Gear. Like, he's doing double duty again at a major pay-per-view.
I think this time, though, somebody's going to come out to help him. And I'm almost positive it's going to be Roddy Strong.
I almost think it. I disagree. And so you watched last night, right? All right. Obviously, we missed last week, folks, but Kenny Omega, the Bucks, and MJF have kind of been having like this back and forth. He's even been on Being the Elite and all that with their show. And I was really hoping that what MJF was going to say last night was, Kenny, I'll give you your match, but if I beat you, you and the Bucks have to be my tag team partners next week, and then shake the hand. And I guess that would have been too foretelling for the collision match that he was going to win. Obviously, if you didn't watch Dynamite last night, folks, spoilers. Kenny Omega versus MJF for the world title that he doesn't even have around his waist right now at Collision this week. Basically,
one of the things before we get into it that made me pop, because I guess Roddy Strong has this whole thing where he's yelling, Adam! Adam! So he's outside the ring and a microphone screaming, Maxwell! Maxwell! And he's like, dude, I'm literally here. Stop yelling.
I'm literally right in front of you. Stop yelling.
Oh, that made me laugh.
Shirt?
Huh?
Did you notice this shirt? Roddy Strong's shirt said, Adam! By the way, I want to let everybody know Tino almost spit that out.
Because I didn't see that shirt. Scrimshank is in the house, and he said MJF will scissor. It'll be huge.
What's up, David? I think you're right. I do think I don't know when he's gonna get Max Caster's love reciprocated. I don't know when it's gonna be reciprocated. But I do agree. I think that is coming. I did like how he just stopped it, but I would have preferred if he rocked it instead, because then it would look like rock, paper, scissors.
I want to mention something else, because we didn't get to mention it last week, and we'll get back to the MJF, but I want to say it while I'm thinking about it. Remember, it was like, I guess it was the week before last, when they first started doing Tony Storm's little things, and I said, wouldn't it be better? It would be like an old movie if they had the words on the screen at their lips. And the following week they did it. Did you notice that? And they did it this week too.
I not only noticed it, but yes, 100%. And it makes those picture-in-picture moments so much better.
But I called it. I'm like, it would be. I said it would be better if they did it this way, and they fucking did it. So maybe they're listening to us too.
You absolutely did call it, and I think that it probably was something that she asked, do you think we can do this? And they couldn't work it out that first week. So I think that's why they were able to make it happen the following week. And it did make for a much better presentation, because the first week I didn't see when she said I have a silent movie.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't see that, when I saw the picture in picture, I
Yeah.
was like, you
Confused.
literally went to picture in picture and she's got her mouth moving and nothing's coming out of it, right?
And I
And
think they realized it would make more sense to do it that way. It's kind of
and
like Gabar holding the signs up during the picture in picture kind of thing.
and that's exactly what the Facebook group told me it was meant to be like. Obviously, certain people do watch all of Dynamite without skipping certain parts or whatever. I almost always skip the picture in picture stuff, but
I do.
when I see that Tony Storm's coming up,
I
I
don't.
stop and I actually go back and watch it. I This is one of those things, specifically, and anybody can chime in here in the audience. I want to know what you think, but I do think this is the difference between the 30 plus years of broadcast television from the WWE versus the 5 years with AEW. Because I noticed like 5 weeks ago or so, there was a spot where Excalibur yelled, "Don't miss a minute. We're going to picture in picture," and it went to an actual commercial.
Yeah.
Um, Someone in our Facebook group was talking about how Jim Ross literally called Claudio Castagnoli,
Cesaro.
which is gonna happen because in the same episode, Nigel McGuinness sat there and called Bryan Danielson Daniel Bryan,
Yep.
and that guy really knows Bryan Danielson. He really doesn't know Daniel Bryan, right? So like him calling him Daniel Bryan, but I kind of mentioned, what if they're doing that not necessarily as an accident anymore, you know?
No, so they can kind of, if that is a casual viewer, like you were saying a couple of weeks ago, hey, that guy looks familiar, and they slip and say, oh, Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan. They say Daniel Bryan, and then they get, Bryan Danielson, but the Daniel Bryan is out there. It's out there. You can't take it back.
So I may be the only one that thinks that, and I'm glad that you kind of agree
Yeah.
that maybe something that, and it all goes back to Billy Gunn, because if you remember when Billy Gunn showed up in AEW at the very beginning, they called him Billy.
Hmm.
They didn't call him Billy Gunn.
But I thought he owned Gunn.
He didn't at that point.
Okay.
At the very beginning of it, because if you remember, he showed up and was part of DX getting entered into the Hall of Fame.
Well, what were they calling his boys? Weren't they calling them?
They were calling them the Guns, but that's because they were never part of WWE. So that's a different trademark.
But they were saying whatever their names are, like Bob Gunn, but they were actually saying their name and Gunn at the end of it.
Yeah, it was Austin Gunn and
Yeah.
Colt. And that's because that's their wrestling name that they started on the indies with.
Okay.
When it comes to sorry, I just got a message about the WWE Supercard game, but because they totally screwed up the big game that happens every week. But anyways, but when it came to Kip Sop couldn't use Billy Gunn because Billy Gunn was a trademark and copyright of the WWE, so they couldn't use that. So somehow he ended up, like, they couldn't call him Mr. Ass, they couldn't call him Billy Gunn, they couldn't call him Badass Billy Gunn, they couldn't call him any of that stuff. So they were calling him like Kip Sop, but for whatever reason, the commentators kept calling him Billy. And then it became something where they started calling him Billy Gunn. Now, it still said what his name was every time they showed it on the screen, but they were calling him Billy Gunn. And then all of a sudden, he went to a trademark lawyer, and the trademark lawyer is like, well, do you have established timeline of nobody actually like threatening you or anything else that they own this? And they didn't. So he ended up contacting WWE saying he wanted to buy the name. They were like, well, we're not really doing anything with the name. And he didn't buy it from them. He waited till it expired and then he filed the trademark. Then they started calling him like Badass Billy or something. Like, I don't remember exactly what they started calling him, like 3 years in, like 3 years ago. But they waited about 6 months even after calling him that on TV. And then all of a sudden they started putting up Billy Gunn on the screen. And at that point, WWE couldn't do anything because they hadn't actually like argued the trademark for so long that there was precedent in place that said that he was okay to use it at that point. And that's why like Christian Cage, if you notice, how often do they call him Christian Cage?
They say it's Christian.
So even though the video screen and even the marker that says what his name is still say Christian Cage on them, nobody calls him Christian Cage.
Every once in a while, but yeah, you're right. And just like
But
Edge,
I
just like even with the Adam Copeland, they come in and say, "Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat." They keep flirting. They keep flirting with it. He already kept his song because the song wasn't WWE's.
Right.
He was able to, I guess he was able to keep Rated R Superstar, which I think again, if you're a casual, well, I mean, that's Edge. He's one of those people you don't have to be like, hey, that guy looks familiar. You know who the fuck that is.
Except you really don't. And so prime example, Sting. Sting is Sting, but his music's different, right? Ric Flair last night when he came out,
it was updated, but it was still the same music.
And Mikey Ruckus had 5 hours to make that music happen.
Oh,
so
But that's what is that, the space? What is the Odyssey? Whatever that's.
I actually had it written down somewhere, but I don't have it with me.
I really don't think anybody could see. Everywhere he goes, he uses that music,
Except
some form of it.
Right. WWE actually
added the woo before it.
Song.
Oh, really?
But everywhere else that he's been, so TNA and everywhere else, the fake version of it that's been built by other people, like the Mikey Ruckus one, he built. So it sounds identical, except if you noticed, it sounded updated.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So not like the Bryan Danielson updated, like his Final Countdown or whatever, but you know what I mean. Anyways, but like Ric Flair, that's Ric Flair. Like you see him and you're like, oh, it's Ric Flair. And we'll talk more about Ric Flair later. CM Punk was the same thing. CM Punk used the same exact music, wore a shirt very similar to what he would wear. I mean, Ric Flair last night literally looked like he was wearing the same outfit that he wore at his Hall of Fame speech. Okay? That's what he looked like. But like Christian Cage, Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, different music. Might look a little different with his presentation. Adam Cole, different music. So like something is always a little bit different, right? And that's been what, like, I still think the casual fan looks at that and goes, I think I know who that is. And then they have to watch it and actually go, yeah, okay, like he sounds like him and whatever, but it's not the same. And that's where the WWE has you, because like even the new people coming in, like Dragon Lee is Dragon Lee, but when he leaves WWE, whatever music made him who he is in WWE is going to be different. Ricochet, when he leaves, it's not going to be one and only. It's going to be something else. Tommaso Ciampa, like you said it yourself, when Tommaso Ciampa debuted on the main roster and he didn't have the same music, what the fuck, right? And I want to talk about Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa when we talk about WWE, because it is something that's bugging me because of the internet wrestling community thinking that these guys aren't over. But anyways, I want to get back into AEW real quick, since that's what we're actually talking about. The Tony Storm thing, great. Friggin' love it. I thought it was interesting that they let Ruby Soho actually go against Sheeta, and then at the end of the match, Tony Storm came running down, but she looked like a disheveled woman that was leaving her dressing room.
It's so good. I love this version of Tony Storm. It's so good.
And remember, she hated cutting her hair when she was with WWE. When Vince told her he wanted her to cut her hair before she made her main roster debut, she hated it. And now she
She
didn't let
runs
her
with
hair
it.
grow. It's the same length. She's
Just
now
curled.
debutante, like 1950s,
The Marilyn Monroe look. She's got the Marilyn Monroe thing going on.
the 1950s pinup girl. Absolutely. And I am all about it. Watch for the shoe.
Oh my God.
Other stuff that happened. Jericho got squashed by Will Hobbs last week. This week he's showing signs of the injury. Mentions that Will Hobbs thinks he's the biggest guy in the yard. Says that he knows that Jericho's got friends that are bigger, which means I think we're gonna get Jericho.
Oh no, I was trying to think of who was an indie person. That's where I went thinking, who's
Nope.
indie?
I think we're getting Jericho. I think Paul White might have a match at Full Gear against Will Hobbs.
Yeah, I think Hobbs was probably still squashing. Not squashing, but I think Hobbs won that match.
I agree. I mean, obviously, how long has it been since Paul White was actually in the ring? But when he said I know bigger people, I mean, who else is he going to bring in? Kali?
I was thinking somebody else.
Andre? I mean, come on, like. but no. Other than that, I mean, Jericho really doesn't have any friends that are like current roster. And I don't see, I really don't think anybody's signing one way or another with other brands right now. So, that's where I kind of was thinking. I don't think it'll be like a Rhino or somebody like that because I think they still show up in Impact.
Yeah.
So since it's been a couple weeks, the state of the championships in AEW, Orange Cassidy is the international champion. Christian Cage is the TNT champion. Christian Cage has been the best version of Christian Cage he has ever been. There is no doubt in my mind that he actually is currently the guy who could beat MJF for the world title if they wanted him to.
Who?
He could beat MJF for the world title.
Who?
Christian Cage. He has two other lackeys that would actually get him the belt. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that he is the most over act in AEW currently. And that includes MJF, who during this babyface run as the World Heavyweight Champion has been excellent. I just don't like that they haven't gotten him his belt back. And now that they've actually put him against both the tag team of the Guns and Jay White, I think Jay White walks out of Full Gear with the world title.
I just sent you that because I want to know what the fuck that's about.
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead and give your opinions of what I just said about Christian Cage.
I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready to go for the title quite yet. I think that he's got to deal with Adam Copeland first. I think they come back as Edge and Christian, and get the tag team belts before he goes and gets the world title.
Did you just send me a picture of Bray Wyatt's wife?
And you see who she's with?
I mean, they could be friends. I'm gonna leave it alone because how people grieve and everything is their own thing. Michael Turner agrees with us about Tony Storm, by the way, but I don't necessarily like that statement or anything, but it also doesn't look like the same JoJo.
Yeah.
In my estimation, it does not look like the same woman.
Okay.
But you sent me 3 of them. Is it all the same thing, or are there 3?
No, they're 3 different things. It was on Twitter, on his Twitter.
Yeah, I don't think that's the same JoJo. I could be wrong. I don't know. It doesn't. I remember her having really curly hair.
You could be right.
So, and then the other titles in AEW, the Ring of Honor World Champion currently is Eddie Kingston.
You don't like that, do you?
No, I'm fine with it. It's just it's a throwaway title right now.
What do you think about that match he had with Jeff Jarrett? And if Jarrett won, now he has to put that title up against Lethal. Why even waste that? I'd rather just go ahead and see Lethal, because I think that'd be a good match. Why put Jarrett in there and then have him have to fight fucking 5 people?
Well, let's go ahead and state for the record that Jeff Jarrett now has had more matches in 2023 than, are you ready for this list? Adam Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson.
Really?
And I believe, and this one I struggled with, but I believe Jon Moxley for AEW on television.
Well, that's because Moxley bleeds every time they go out there. Like, we're tired of you bleeding, bitch. You give somebody hepatitis.
Moxley was Moxley. You talk about the hepatitis. Juice Robinson versus MJF this week, where MJF actually was like licking the blood.
Oh,
yeah. But I mean, sympathy for the devil, if you will. The but Moxley went like, I don't know. It felt like 15 weeks where he had 2 matches a week. You know, because I mean, like for the WWE when he was there as Dean Ambrose, he obviously was the workhorse. I mean, they talked about how like 3 years in a row he had the most matches out of anybody, right?
Yeah.
Not, obviously before the pandemic, but so the other titles that we're talking about, women's titles, you obviously have Sheeta, and then you have
Statlander.
Where it almost seems like they're giving Statlander a bigger like visual, like she's being seen more than Sheeta.
I got a question. I want to know what your thoughts are. Sky Blue. That change she's gone through now that she had whatever the mist spit in her eyes. Do we see her going over to joining the House of Black? And now they also missed what's her name? The
Willow Nightingale.
Yeah, and she's starting to act weird too. So are we looking at maybe them adding more women to that House of Black stable?
Well, let me start by saying I loved Sky Blue's Mystery Machine cosplay.
And you see the Scooby Doo, but it was SB instead of SD. Yeah.
Do I see them joining the House of Black? Not necessarily. Do I see them becoming heel? Yes. I think both companies right now struggle with babyface overload. We want to cheer so many people, but we don't have anybody to cheer them against.
Yeah.
And Sky Blue, this recent attitude change, by the way, I think is a welcome breath of fresh air with it. Willow Nightingale, in that sense, I mean, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it harshly. I mean it in the best possible way, is that her body size and her body structure is built to be a heel.
I can see that.
Like people with her body type don't typically get over as baby faces, and she did. Don't get me wrong. She
Female or male? I mean, what about my hero, Big Death the Road, baby? He was a bigger dude. He didn't have an athletic body, and he was a good baby face. He did heel, but he did baby face too.
he was good as both. But when you look at Dusty, I would yes. The only difference between Dusty and what we're talking about here is that he went up against better heels.
What about and female workers? What about Awesome Kong? She was a heel, but when she turned face, she had a good following too.
She was so much better as a heel, and you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
argue with me.
No, but you were saying
ODB better heel. Nia Jax better heel. China better heel than babyface. 100%. Like everybody, Charlotte better heel.
but they don't have the same body style and body type as you're
No,
saying. Somebody
they're all the taller, larger women. Like yes, they might not have the pear shaping or large behinds or whatever that like Nia Jax literally looks like every Samoan you've ever seen. They don't all have that. I mean, Willow Nightingale's not that structure. She's a different beast. And I like this attitude, though, is what I'm saying. I think that she will, I think that she has the ability to. Right now, with the women's division in AEW, you have a very distinct break between two divisions of the same division. You have the TNT title, and then you have the women's world title. And the women's world title seems to be all the WWE women.
well, Sheeta's got it now. Sheeta wasn't WWE.
You're right, but who else is going for it? Tony Storm, Ruby Soho, Saraya. You know what I mean? It just feels that way. Jamie Hayter's another one that actually broke through. I give you that.
Britt.
She actually grew up in the WWE developmental system.
I don't
So
remember what she was in the WWE.
didn't really make it onto TV, but she was because her, Deonna Purrazzo, and Chelsea Green were all there.
Didn't know that.
However, Britt made her way in AEW. And I'm not going to argue that. Like that is she when she left WWE and she said I'm going to do something with this, she was able to really make it in AEW even before Adam Cole came over, right? So and she made the women's division, her and Thunder Rosa made it what it was for as long as they did. Obviously Thunder hasn't come back. So I mean there's stuff there. I'm not really trying to debate that, but you know that there's a division between the TNT title and the women's title. It's just one of them really does seem to be really heavy WWE women loaded, and the other one is all homegrown talent loaded, is what it seems like.
Okay.
And they need to figure out a way to put those together and actually start having people like Statlander go against Sheeta, or have your Sky Blues going against Ruby Soho. Like for whatever reason,
They did that. They did a Sky Blue Ruby match, didn't they? A couple weeks
maybe
ago. Yeah, they did. I think it was yeah, it was so she fought for the title. Yeah, it was last week. It was Rampage. Sky Blue went against Soho. Because that was the winner that was to go against was who got the title shot.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's good. That means that they're finally starting to mishmash them a little bit. Now, granted, doing it on Rampage, which is the least watched show out of the three of them.
It was either Rampage. It might have been Collision. It was Collision. I'm sorry. It was Collision.
I agree with you. It could have been either of them. You get my point, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's all I'm stating. Like the women's division, we know who the two champions are, but like I would almost want to see them sit there. If Statlander's really as good as they're saying that she is, I'd love to see her versus Sheeta at Full Gear. You know, And then if Statlander wins, she gives up the TNT title. They start one of Tony Khan's favorite things, which is a tournament. And you do a tournament for who's the next TNT champion, right? And you do it on Collision or you do it on Rampage or whatever, and that sits there and, you know, hopefully helps certain things. Specifically, real quick, want to talk about
Flair. Let's get
the
Oh,
MJ
sorry.
Kenny Omega stuff.
Okay.
This week on AEW Dynamite, we saw a trios match between the Young Bucks and Adam Page and the Hardys and one of the kids from whatever they're called, Top Flight. Is that what they were?
No. Private Party. That was Brother Zay.
Private Party, right.
Brother Zay.
The other one's hurt, I believe.
Yeah.
So, who went over?
That was for which? Who? It was one of the. It wasn't Adam Page because
the Elite went over. The Elite, as the team, went over. You and I struggled to sit there and say anything nice about the Elite.
Mm-hmm.
I fast forwarded through the entire match. I thought it was a throwaway match, but then we got a little bit of and yes, I know that I said I want to talk about Kenny and MJF, and we will. But I liked that they're still building up Hangman versus Swerve. I don't know if I liked that Swerve was somehow videotaping in the house where it was supposed to just be him, and yet he was always on camera.
No, Nana was in there. I think he had somebody else with him.
Well, I know he had one other person with him, but it would have been nice to see him put the camera down so that way you could see that it was his phone videotaping everything.
He did put the camera down when he went into the room with the baby. Remember, he said, "Give me the camera," and he put the camera down, and then you see it was just him leaning over the crib with the baby.
Well, then good. Then I like the storytelling element to it, because I always hate those. I'm barging into the house. Oh, you have a camera crew with you? Like, You know what I mean? So the fact that they did it via phone camera or whatever, or even, you know, GoPro or something, I'm totally down with. I think that actually is a very professional way to do that storyline. I don't like the whole idea of Swerve needing a reason to go into Adam Page's home.
I didn't get you're in Adam Page's home. There's nobody there, but you go in the room, and I'm assuming the baby's there. Where the fuck is Adam's wife? So she's like, "See you, bitch. Bye, baby. You need anything? Just..."
Yeah. Who would leave their baby? Like at least show her in the corner, like screaming and crying or what. 100% agree. Like you almost had me with that one, guys. But you done fucked up. No one is going to leave their baby. House could be burning down. You're running in that fucking house. Hell, I know people that do that for their dog.
Yep.
You know, if they had said, "Hey, mom and baby are gone, but the cat's still here," and they're sitting there fucking around with a cat, I hate cats personally. Like I'm definitely allergic to them, but I would have understood that some people sit there and go, "Cat's part of the family," right? Like I would have got. But so yeah, him now. Maybe he's standing over the crib and there's no baby there.
Possibly.
But, you know, and to add insult to it, to get Hangman running out of the house, you make it look like you're invading the home while the whole family's there or whatever. I don't know. But I'm with you on like the
Well, when they got there, he just turned the handle and the door open. I'm like, this bitch ain't got no key. He walked in the house, ain't nobody there but the motherfucking baby in the crib.
Well, now remember, he lives in West Virginia, so they might not lock the door.
Okay.
See, here I am helping the AEW storyline, which, you know, when everyone sits there and says that I'm a hater, I'm literally trying to actually improve the storyline here.
You are a couple of haters. A cup of haters.
Man, you are all about some Enzo tonight.
Because
You started.
I was watching YouTube today because I was like, it'd be cool if Enzo came in there and did something with Big Bill. So I went back and watched the because that was the best entrance. That was one of my favorite entrances. The Enzo and Big Cass thing. That was one of my
I
favorite.
I like the night talking about them in WWE. And by the way, do you have anything else you? Oh, I did want to still talk about the MJF thing, but
Yeah.
um, with the Enzo statement that you're making, I loved the night that his mic wouldn't work, and he's like, "You think I need my mic? You think I need my mic? How about this? How about?" And then he just started going like this, and everybody started doing his thing for him. I was like,
He's
"Yes, that."
over.
But I do want to. I want to remind you of a very specific point that I said when him and Cass got moved up to the main roster. I flat out said to you on this show, I said they will never be tag team champions in WWE, and they weren't.
You may have. I don't remember. That was so long ago.
They weren't NXT champions, and they weren't Raw champions either.
All right,
So,
let's get back to this because it's
MJF and Kenny Omega, you and I talk about it all the time. We were actually kind of happy at the fact that Kenny Omega was not involving himself in the world title picture, was trying to get other people over, trying to work with new people, trying to work with Ibushi now that he kind of has shown up in AEW a couple times and all of that. And then Kenny sits there and comes out and says, I should have the opportunity to defend my streak because 11 days from now, or 6 days from now, 5 days after yesterday, MJF can be the longest reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And they kind of started this on being the elite, where MJF came in and actually started being the babyface to the Bucks, saying nice things about them. And then he walked up to Kenny at the end and he said, 11 days, bitch. And then now Kenny's sitting there and Kenny
3 days, bitch.
And Kenny said, 3 days, bitch. After the whole thing, and then they both got to do their
Catchphrases, pretty
their
much.
catchphrases and everything. And I'm going to tell you, if you listen to the crowd firmly behind Max, but obviously they were behind Kenny as well. The crowd was kind of dead. And now with pictures coming out about like what the crowds have been looking like at AEW, like I thought Philadelphia last night actually looked pretty full, like from seeing it on camera. And every time they tried to show like the angles that would be looking towards the hard camera side, I was trying to pay attention to that because I wanted to see whether or not they were filling the arena. And what I can say about Philadelphia is that the lower bowl looked pretty full. But when you started looking at like the second deck,
But here's the thing: we talk about wrestling being,
cyclical.
cyclical. Remember, not too long ago, and you weren't harping on it like you're harping on this. WWE wasn't filling buildings either.
No, I would say it. That's why I told you we like here in Raleigh we couldn't get a Raw or SmackDown. They'd have to go to Greensboro for it.
Okay.
I would say that all the time. Don't go trying to say that I didn't say it.
No, but you've been pointing it out more and more every week. You didn't point it out as much when it was WWE, is what I'm saying.
Well,
And
I think it's because even at their worst, when it was coming to like the Raws and SmackDowns, they were still getting 6,000 or 7,000 people, so they were filling half the arena. We're talking like TNA.
you can't cut a million slack. You cannot. It pains you. It pains you.
Hold on. Right now, Impact Wrestling, their last two pay-per-views have sold out 2,500 building arenas, right? What I think the problem is, and this is what I want to say to it, isn't a dig. I think it's the fact that their attendance at AEW was going up for a while. So they were going into bigger and bigger arenas, which you have to book ahead of time.
Yes.
I think that it leveled off, and I think that it started coming down rather than continuing to expand and build. And now they're stuck in that period where they're in bigger buildings and they're not gaining the audiences that they need to fill those buildings. If they were in a 5,000 person arena on a nightly basis, it would be packed, it would be loud, it would be exactly what they want it to be. And Impact, for example, I think that Impact would be 3,500 people based on what they're talking about when they do their pay-per-views, and they're getting 2,500 and they're selling out like 3 weeks in advance. The difference is that you are right. WWE is selling out 15,000 person arenas right now, and they're not even giving the employees tickets anymore.
Except, what is it? What were you telling me at NXT where you get in free there for the NXT shows?
Well, that's at the what do they call it? The CWC.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's because it's part of Full Sail University. So if you're waiting in line and you're one of those first like 1,200 people or whatever, you get in. However, like that's why people are actually upset that like the Undertaker appearance happened, was because he's sitting there showing up at a show that they gave away for free, when normally you have to pay. When the Undertaker gets advertised, you're paying $100 a seat,
Which I think they did on purpose. I mean, it's like a reward. It's kind of a, it's kind of a, you know what I mean?
100%. 100%. And I guarantee that most of the people that were there for that are the same people that are there on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
However, we went to the Charlotte show for NXT, and there wasn't a seat available.
Mm-mm.
And that was NXT, and this is the first show after being NXT 2.0, right? So like there's a difference, and there, when we talk about WWE, if you want me to sit there and go into my issues with certain things WWE, I will, because there are issues that I see with their booking right now.
If you're not long-winded about it, I do want to get out of here.
All right.
A decent hour.
Anyways, this Saturday night, I bet that the match was made to sell more seats for Collision 3 days in advance. I don't know where it is, but I got to assume that by announcing MJF versus Kenny Omega for the world title, that there is going to be a huge uptick in ticket sales. Is that fair?
Yes. And I also told you, we talked about, as much, and anybody who's been on this show for any length of time know that I hate the Elite, but I'm okay with this match because I don't think Kenny's going to book himself to win. I think that they're going to let, I think MJF's going to go over, because he's got to face Jay White. Now, whether Jay White comes out and interferes, I just don't. Kenny's not winning the belt tonight. Kenny's not winning the belt, and I don't think that Kenny. It makes sense that Kenny wants to defend. I think he wants to defend his
honor.
Honor. He wants to defend. I'm the longest AEW champion, and he'll let MJF beat him.
I agree with all that, and in fact, I continue, but I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's what, I was just saying. It's just made him. I don't want to say make MJF look stronger, but make him okay. You beat Kenny Omega. You beat Omega. You know what I mean? So it'll just make him look strong, like you said, give him the rub.
Well, yeah, because if you look at who MJF has actually defeated for the World Heavyweight Championship, I mean, who did he even beat for the belt? Jon Moxley?
Was it Moxley or Jericho?
No, he beat Moxley. Moxley. Because Jericho hasn't been the champion since the very first championship.
Or was it Hangman? No,
it was Moxley.
Moxley.
Moxley was the one that won it from CM Punk, and then CM Punk disappeared.
Yeah.
And then MJF beat Moxley. He defended it against Bryan Danielson in that 5-star classic, Iron Man match. And all things done there when you think about it. Like MJF, besides those matches, he really hasn't wrestled top talent. So, putting him against Kenny Omega makes sense, especially if you want to make Jay White look like a top talent. Now, granted, Jay White hasn't faced anybody in AEW, like, to my knowledge. Like, and I obviously am not hey, let's watch all 5 hours of AEW television on a regular basis, because I just can't. There's too damn many hours of pro wrestling.
It's not AEW's got 2, 4,
5.
6. No, 5. That's right. Rampage is only an hour.
Sometimes 6, but 5 hours on a weekly basis. It's too much. And I'm not saying they need to cut back. I'm just saying that we all need to figure out a way to watch the best parts of all of it, so that way we get the best from it. Anyways, ready to talk about WWE?
Then you want to talk about Flair? You said you want to talk about something about Flair.
So, okay, real quick. Ric Flair, and I even, there we go. Flair! I almost thought that Christian Cage was going to bring up Sons. When I originally saw the promo, I saw Ric Flair looking like he was getting ready to cry, and I didn't hear sound, and I didn't see even the
Closed caption.
closed captioning.
He looked rough too. You could tell his age, how slow he was getting in the ring and moving around.
Hell, when he gave Sting the chop, and it hurt him more than it hurt Sting. Now, if I was Christian Cage, the line I would have used would have been like, "Oh, so Tony Khan bought you an AARP." Like, that's what I would have said if I was Christian Cage. Now, granted, half the people in the audience wouldn't know what that is, but, like, the fact that Sting and Flair are in the ring at the same time, you're talking a 75-year-old man and a 65-year-old man. You have two literal senior citizens in the ring together at the same time, and you've got Darby Allin with the bum arm out of the three of them.
Yeah.
and I'm literally, I loved the fact that Christian sat there and said, "There's 3 of us, and if I look in the ring, there's 2 of you and a geriatric old man."
That was wrong.
If you want to use him, it's fine, but otherwise go find yourself a partner. And I think we all know who that's going to be. Even though he said, "I don't want to face Christian in a match," this is going to be something where Adam Copeland joins Sting and Darby Allin and makes the match out of it. The question that I have for you when it comes to all this, now Ric Flair has said, "I'm with you for the long haul until your final match." So obviously he's going to be a staple on AEW television.
I'm hoping he doesn't wrestle.
That's what I'm worried about, man. And that's why I brought this up, is I truly am worried that Ric Flair is lobbying for the final match of Sting's career to be Ric Flair versus Sting.
Because I guarantee he sees Sting jumping off of fucking balconies and going through tables, and then with his ego, if he can do it, I can still do it. No, bitch, you cannot.
Well, remember like 2012, him versus Edge, when Edge had the Money in the Bank, and all of a sudden they had a ladder match, and it was Ric Flair versus Edge, and I sat there and told you, this motherfucker is trying to die in the ring. And And I'm going to tell you right now, I hate saying this,
I think he still is.
but if Tony Khan lets him get in the ring in any kind of match with Darby Allin,
Or Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy might be drunk during the. I'm sorry, that's horrible. Regardless, my statement stands true. If Ric Flair gets into a match that includes Darby Allin, includes Luchasaurus, includes Nick Wayne, any of those kids, what's going to happen is Ric Flair is going to take a dive, and Ric Flair might not make it up. And I don't care what anybody says. That's a fact. And I'm scared. Because I was scared when he had that damn ladder match when he was like 63 years old. Like, dude, you and I were sitting here and I was like, that old man's trying to kill himself.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, it frightened me then, and it gets me right now. But anyways, all right, we got to jump to the other programs.
All
right?
right. Yep, let's do it.
All right. So, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Let's go ahead and start with the big stuff. Let's just jump right into this one. How about this?
Okay. All right. I can deal with that. I was going to do the Judgment Day tag match, but we can start with this.
No, this is the biggest thing in WWE right now, and I know that it doesn't feel like it because while LA Knight has been all over programming, Roman Reigns has been sitting at home on vacation. So, but let's really jump into it, Tino. And
it kind of reminds me of when um who was it? It was Cena and The Rock. I remember Rock wasn't there full time, so Cena pretty much had to carry the promo and carry selling the pay per view because Rock wasn't there. So it's kind of the same thing. LA Knight's that, like you said, is there each and every week. So I think that he's going to be the one. Well, Roman's back now, so um, I say LA Knight wins too.
you say LA Knight wins?
Oh, yeah, Mike Turner said it, and you said agreed. Who were you agreeing with?
Oh no, I was agreeing to the Ric Flair is trying to die in the ring.
Yeah, I think LA Knight wins. I think it's a. We all know he's gone way over holding that belt. I think a LA Knight should have won the US strap a while ago. All the
No, I don't
well,
agree with.
well, not a while ago, but he should have won it when he fought for it. If they keep making him lose, and I don't even care if the bloodline comes in and interferes. If he keeps losing, people are. I think that they need to
They're gonna
strike.
fall off.
Yes.
They're gonna fall off. But hold on. So his should have won the United States Championship. I disagree. He should have won the Money in the Bank and gone after the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw. Because if you wanted to specifically push Cody Rhodes to win the World Championship that Roman has, like the Universal Championship, then you should have given LA Knight the Money in the Bank and had him beat Seth. Straight up,
Okay.
that's the way it should have went. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is this, and I'm telling you right now, Tino, mark my words on this, okay? LA Knight is going to lose the match the same way that everybody else has lost to Roman, which is the bloodline gets involved, the bloodline causes a distraction, LA Knight loses the match. Same time, same night, Logan Paul is going to win the United States Championship. And Triple H, and I'm going to talk about this as well. Triple H is going to consolation prize LA Knight into a WrestleMania match between LA Knight and Logan Paul for the United States Championship, which he's supposed to just sit there and go, Let me throw that strap on my shoulder and be like, woo! Here's the problem. Triple H, since taking over the WWE, and this is a big thing, okay? This is, it might be Rob's rant of the year, if you will. And I'm not going to make it long because it's not long. Since taking over WWE Creative, Triple H has not pulled the trigger on any of the major men's world championships. Not a single one. Roman Reigns has been the champion since day one. Seth Rollins, as soon as they announced that title, hasn't lost the belt. Those two world championships have not changed hands. He's afraid to make the move. And the problem that I have with that, and I'm saying mark my words, because right now, unless some wild hair goes up his ass next weekend, Cody Rhodes is meant to win that world title at WrestleMania 40, which means there's no chance that LA Knight wins that belt in Saudi Arabia. And if he does win that belt in Saudi Arabia, what's the story going forward from there? Does he
could start a program. I can see him turning heel, and he could start a program, and Cody could win it from him. Who says that Cody has to win it from Roman?
No. And that's always been the question, is why does he have to win it from Roman? And that's not it. I always liked the idea of him going after Seth's belt and Damian Priest winning the other one, because then Cody versus Damian Priest made a lot more sense. Ever since that whole moment of Kevin Owens being traded to SmackDown happened, rather than Cody Rhodes being traded to SmackDown, there's been, to me, a disconnect in the main event storyline. Go ahead.
What about, and here's a thought.
Sure. You know I respect your thoughts.
Rhea and the Judgment Day have been swapping favors with Paul Heyman and the Bloodline. Okay.
Sure.
What if he does lose that belt to LA Knight, but Priest does come in and cash in on LA Knight?
All right. I love the moxie.
Like, they try to help Roman win, and they fuck Roman in the process, but then they turn around and cash in on Knight. So then Knight has a reason to chase the title because he feels like he got screwed. You can all.
So you follow Bleacher Report, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but you follow Bleacher Report. Well, Bleacher Report agrees with me that Damian Priest's knee injury shouldn't have stopped him from going after Seth after that. And you already had your statement about that, so I'm going to leave that alone. I could see Damian Priest coming down and winning the world or the Universal Championship if LA Knight were to win it. I could see that. Triple H has been in charge since July of last year, which means a year and 4 months at this point, right?
And then Vince did come back from a little bit and was fucking with his booking.
But mainly the top guys kind of left alone. Like sure, people like Xia Li were kept off of television. Like, that's what's coming out now, is like Xia Li was kept off television. Well, is she really ready for or should she go back to NXT? Like, whatever. But he really didn't fuck with the top guys. If you really look at it, like what's been said and what's been done, whatever, it was really left to Triple H, like, when those moves got made. So, like, do I agree if Vince was actually more in control of things, that Gunter would have lost the Intercontinental title by now? Probably. Sure. But when it comes to Roman, I think he was like, all right, Paul. You want him to hold it until Mania, he'll hold it to Mania. But you got to get us there, and you got to keep the ratings where they are, because otherwise, I'm pulling the trigger Monday night, even though he's a SmackDown guy. Like that's Vince, right? That's how he is. So I don't see LA Knight winning the belt at a random Saudi Arabia pay-per-view. I could see the Rhea Ripley change because, I mean, against 4 other people. However, it is a fatal 5-way single eliminate. Like, it's just whoever wins, when it should be an elimination match. Well, so my point to the elimination match for the women is pretty simple. It's because the women aren't going to get a lot of time anyway on the program.
Mhm.
Because in Saudi Arabia, they all have to wear all the clothes, like they have to be fully like to the nines with it. So I would give them as much time as possible. Like, I would make them the superstars that actually go out and have an hour-long match. But if it's a single fall match, it's probably a 20-minute match. If it's an elimination match, you can sit there and have it come down to Shayna and Rhea. And all of a sudden, Shayna puts her in like Taza Hazame, Kukina Clutch, whatever you want to call it. And then all of a sudden, Rhea sits there and is able to get out of it somehow and win the match if you want Rhea to win. Or you could finally have Shayna show her dominance in the entire division. You know what I mean?
I got a sneaky feeling they're going to try to put it on Zoe Stark.
I don't think they're going to put it on Zoe Stark. I think they're going to make her look strong, though. But she's in a match against, like, heavy hitters.
Oh, you see what Michael says?
That way the Judgment Day holds all the titles and becomes the new blood. They already are the new bloodline. They already are the new bloodline, and they're having the same problems that the bloodline story is having right now. Why is Jimmy Uso back in the bloodline? They didn't explain it. He got offered a car, a plane,
Roman
else.
Roman has not said that Jimmy's back in the bloodline yet.
You're right, and none of them have. But there was a day where Jimmy Uso was offered everything under the sun to say that he's back in the bloodline, and he didn't accept it. But now all of a sudden he's acting like he wants to be back in the bloodline, and he doesn't have any of that shit. Tino, if somebody offered you your own private plane,
I'd be in the bloodline right now.
but if you sat there and said, no, I don't want that, and he took that offer away, would you ever try to get back in the bloodline?
I'd cry.
Which is where we all are.
I'm like, fuck you, Roman.
Exactly. Fuck you, Roman. I can't even grow my hair back using your shit. Roman.com. All that bullshit. Anyways, all right. So let's.
And Jimmy goes with the Judgment Day. That's what Mike said. Michael Turner just said.
Jimmy? They haven't even talked to Jimmy.
They have been trying to get both the Usos, and he was saying that if the Judgment Day won all the belts, Jimmy would go back to them. But then he wouldn't have a belt. But
Jimmy Uso is the Marty Jannetty suddenly.
Damn. Why you gotta do that to Uso?
Well, because he's not yeeting. You know, like, if you're gonna get you some, you're gonna yeet, you know? So
let's finish this shit up.
Yeah, it was terrible, but I can't help but laugh at it. All right, so I hate the Kevin Owens being the trade.
Why?
Well, because Cody being the trade would mean that he doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he won the Royal Rumble last year. So now,
Win Money in the Bank.
so you're saying they take Damian Priest's Money in the Bank away from him? You think Triple H does that? I don't think so.
Because wasn't he hurt for WrestleMania?
Who?
Cody.
No,
And he could,
last year he wrestled the match. It was him versus Roman, and Roman won.
because
Solo.
Cody and Damian are fighting at the Saudi Arabia show.
They are, but it's just a match currently. Now
They couldn't make it for that damn case.
I told you at the beginning I would have made it for the case.
They still got Monday.
I don't know if the Riyadh match would be for that. Maybe they move it to Survivor Series. Who knows? Although the rumor
Because
is,
they could have him win the case and Cody could take that belt in Saudi.
dude, I think Roman Reigns is taking Survivor Series off. And I think we're going to have Solo, Jimmy, and the 3 members of the Judgment Day versus Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and one other person.
Maybe LA Knight if he loses his title shot.
Actually, I think it's Seth Rollins. But it could be LA Knight. You're right.
I think Rollins will probably be defending that belt.
I guess who if we take all those other people?
Because if Roman is going to take it off, they got to have a main event male belt.
No, the War Games match will be the main event.
But you know what I mean. They've got to defend a men's title.
So put up the Logan Paul versus LA Knight.
I think Seth's going to be defending his belt. If Roman's taking it off, I think Seth will be there defending.
Actually,
I say fucking give it to Gunther.
The major title being defended either could be Gunther finally losing his Intercontinental title at Survivor Series, or it could be Logan Paul defending against Ricochet because of what happened Monday night, where Ricochet had to come down and defend the ring announcer Samantha. What's her name?
Oh, his fiance. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that could be the big title match, and then they have 2 women's title matches or whatever. I mean, I don't think there's enough to do two War Games matches at Survivor Series this year.
No, it'll be one War Games match, which, like I said, which means they need to have some single titles on the line.
Sure. So you have Rhea.
I think if Roman's off, Steph's going to defend.
I mean, maybe you could be right. I don't know. Right now, I think Seth is the 5th member of that team, but you could be right. Could be LA Knight. So Seth could be defending against somebody, but is he defending against Shinsuke again?
They got time between now, excuse me, and Survivor Series. They got time to build somebody else up.
Sure. I kind of agree with you.
I kind of hope it's Sammy.
You don't need to have for your champ to take days off. Roman is no longer the guy. Unfortunately, Roman still is the guy.
See, Roman's fallen into that damn. He bitched about Brock Lesnar, but Roman's turning into Brock Lesnar.
I would love to see what Roman's contract actually says he needs to do versus what WWE has him do, because I'd almost think that he's probably working less than it requires him. And it's weird because, pardon me, it's weird because I really think the fact that he's only wrestled 1 match since WrestleMania, and that was at SummerSlam. Like, should you continue saying that he is adding days to the championship at this point? Like, I don't feel like you should.
He's
Feel
not
like
added. He's holding this. He's definitely holding it that long. He's been the champion, held the champion that long. He hadn't defended it, and I would like for them to go back to you got to defend that title every 30 days because he damn sure hadn't defended it every 30 days.
I would love that, and obviously, even with Paul Heyman, even if you said Roman Reigns only shows up 12 times a year, Paul Heyman can sit there and run his mouth enough to get all you need from Roman Reigns for that. You know what I mean? At the same time, I don't know. I'm so tired of that, and this is where my problem with the Triple H era is that Gunther has held the belt for 500 plus days. Seth Rollins has held the belt since the day that day was conceived, when he should have lost it by now. Roman has held the belt for over 3 years, and 1+ of those years, 1.5 of those years now, is Triple H time. So at this point, why is he so scared to pull the trigger? Is he afraid that like those sold out crowds tomorrow are going to go away because someone else is champion, even though Roman Reigns, who's never here, won't be champion anymore? Like, I don't get it. I really don't understand it, Tino. Try to help me understand it, please.
I can't. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, it boggles my fucking mind, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's obvious he's afraid to pull the trigger.
But I don't know why, because like I said, he was doing so good when he first started. We even said the fucking program, the product got better, but now I don't want to say it's getting stagnant. But if you, like you said, if you're going to keep the two top guys the same, it goes back to what I've been saying all along. You got to give other people chances.
You know, you know what's interesting about it is that when it comes to the men, the tag team titles, yeah, they can bounce around, and obviously they started playing hot potato with those just recently again, right? Like you got 6 good months with Sammy and Kevin, and then it's been bouncing around.
You wanted to say something about DIY?
I do, and I know we want to get off here within 2 hours, so we got to make it quick. But with the titles, the Universal Championship is a WWE belt, right? That's WWE Championship. Can understand why he wants to extend it out as long as he can, so he can say my champions have been longer reigning champions than anybody previous. The Intercontinental title, also WWE created title, and of course now longer than the Honky Tonk Man is Gunther. Granted, totally agree with it that he should be. That new Seth Rollins belt is also a WWE created title, so making it a long-term champion seems to be what Triple H is all about. Even if you look at like the women's titles, the tag team belt created out of nowhere, whatever, but he really hasn't moved it since he put it on Chelsea Green and whoever her partner would be. Obviously now it's Piper Niven. By the way, the NXT costumes between the two of them, where she was Little Red Riding Hood and Piper Niven was the Big Bad Wolf, and
was
she
awesome.
was chain around her neck, was fucking awesome. Okay,
And even when she took the mask off, she still had the makeup and the teeth. It was awesome.
Not as cool as Shotzi Blackheart's Hellraiser, but pretty damn close.
And Rosie coming out, Perez coming out as Freddy Krueger. That was cool too.
Yeah.
No. When they came out, the Shining Twins, that freaked me out.
But nothing was as good as Shotzi as Hellraiser.
Pinhead, yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking incredible. All right, DIY. Tino, everywhere I'm reading sits there and says that this is like the biggest, not the biggest flop that Triple H has had since coming in, because I think that's Karrion Kross.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think Karrion Kross has really missed the boat. Ciampa against Gunter was a hell of a match. At the end of the match, they ended up having Johnny Gargano come out and make the save for Tommaso Ciampa, and the crowd was flat. This is like 2 weeks ago. The crowd was flat. There was no crowd reaction for Johnny coming out, and then USA Production ended up costing them the payoff because as DIY got ready to sit there and take out Ludwig Kaiser, they cut the program, right? I don't think any of what I just said is why they are not over right now. I think the number one reason why they are not over is the same reason you hated Tommaso Ciampa's Raw debut.
The music.
Johnny Gargano's music right now is anemic. It is missing the iron. It is missing the rock. It is missing the thing that went, it's up to no one else. Du, 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 du. Like, that Rebel Heart song is so dry now. It is, they literally sucked all of the energy out of that song and said, Johnny, there you go. When, I'll tell you what, when in that NXT arena, Johnny Gargano's music would hit, you'd sit there and go, fuck, I got to get up and like dance. And I don't dance. I need to just sit there and be like, you know? And you and I both said it. Tommaso Ciampa coming out to his original music versus, because I remember the night that he came out to his current and original NXT music. I sat there and I sent you a message that said you were going to be pleased. And
yeah, because you usually watch it before I do, because I got stuff I did. I used to watch it later.
And I sent you that message, and you were like, "They did it!" Brought back his music.
I remember watching it. I was in here by myself, because everybody was in the bed, and that fucking music, that beep beep beep. I had to take everything in me not to fucking and wake everybody up.
Survive. And you know what? They give them enough time, and they have them actually working the kind of matches that we know they can work. And guess what's going to happen? But the problem is if all of a sudden Triple H goes, well, we need someone to lose to Drew McIntyre this week. Guess what's going to happen? Drew McIntyre is going to beat the shit out of them, both probably in a handicap match, and all of a sudden, they're going to be back to square one again.
Yeah, fuck them.
And remember, when they actually came in through the Cruiserweight tournament, I was like, I don't give a shit about either of these guys. I didn't care that my buddy Tom is the guy that actually designs all of Tommaso Ciampa's ring gear.
I knew, and I kept trying to tell you, because I remember Ciampa from ROH, the Sicilian, the all that stuff. I'm like, dude, this guy's for real. This guy's for real.
But you remember, I watched ROH on a weekly basis at
that
point.
And I didn't know why. I couldn't understand why you weren't into Ciampa. Ciampa was fucking.
Dude, I wasn't into many of those guys. I like Dijak. And
he wasn't on ROH.
Yes, he was. Donovan Dijak.
I don't remember him. I remember I was watching Kevin Steen and El Generico and Samoa Joe when he was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember all of them. The fact is that like I watched all of them, saw them all grow up, saw them all start going around the world, and when WWE started signing them, it was like because Triple H was allowed to sign guys without Vince knowing, and so the program became better.
The ones he should have signed and never did. And my favorite out of the ROH, Mark and Jay.
There was always a reason why they never got signed.
I know, and
You know who's no longer on AEW programming?
yeah, I think because the whole Jay thing's blown over now, which sucks, and I hate it. I hate it. I knew they were going to do that while the whole, and they silently pulled him off, and I hate it because he's so good.
Had them do multiple matches, you know, for like just to check them out, and yeah, it never worked out. May have had something to do with the Gerald Briscoe thing, where Gerald Briscoe was actually a little upset about it.
No, they said WWE, and they had the letter. They read it, said they were not aesthetically pleasing enough. So pretty much saying they were damn too ugly to like. Really?
And yet, remember, this was the same company that had the Bushwhackers.
Yes.
Shit, you completely made me forget anything I was thinking about with all that stuff.
Sorry.
No, what I was originally saying was that WWE was allowing Triple H to sign the indie talent at a point where Vince wanted him to develop new talent, and he started signing all the indie talent, and certain guys got through. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I mean, remember, Sami Zayn was a white meat babyface that moved his way up to the main roster, and immediately upon moving up to the main roster, Vince McMahon was like, "You're gonna be a heel," and he's like, "What? I've never been a heel. My entire career, I've never been a heel. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" And we see what happened, right? Like, Sami Zayn became one of the best heels, and still to this day, when he put the damn the damn thing around Jeff Hardy's ear and locked it to the ladder. How could that not have ever been done before?
That was, yeah.
Fucking one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in pro wrestling. Anyways, really, next weekend I want to let everybody know I will be at Comic-Con.
Where?
In Durham.
Which Comic-Con you cut out?
NC Comic-Con.
Okay.
In Durham at the where we went to go see NXT, the Durham Armory and the Durham Convention Center. I'll be on panels. I'll be selling comic books. I'll be doing sketches. I'll be doing whatever. Really want to see people come out and actually like help support us. Obviously, I'll have some stuff for Zor, even though the book's not out until February. But I'm obviously really excited about it. But I'll also have Billy Parker, who worked with me on Junior High Horrors, and Troy Dongara, who is the Kid Slapshot writer and artist, as well as the Mandalorian artist for me out there. So we'll be doing like different signing times and stuff like that. We'll have a great time. Hopefully everybody can come out. I don't think it's an expensive show. It's a weekend show. It's Saturday, Sunday, 4th and 5th. But some really big name comic book people there, like Arthur Adams, who drew the original Long Shot miniseries, also did Monkey Man or O'Brien, and Alex Maleev, who was the artist on Daredevil right after the Kevin Smith run. So some pretty big names and everything out there. Just want to let everybody know that's where I'll be. You said you're going to be having a show
this weekend. This Friday night at Woody's City Market in Raleigh, going from 9 to 12. It's going to be an acoustic set, but it's going to be fun.
And the only other thing I even wanted to mention was I have beaten Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5.
Already?
I've been out of work, dude. What do you think?
Sure.
I'm doing? Yeah.
Did you buy it or did you download it on the?
I downloaded it.
I might
Honestly.
just download it. Yeah.
It is excellent.
Thanks, Michael.
My favorite costume in the entire game, by the way, is Miles's Into the Spider-Verse costume. And the reason why is because unlike all the other costumes which work fluidly, like when you're moving and everything just looks so like perfect. It looks like choppy.
So they have what is it? The symbiote. The what is that? The symbiote suit. Venom. They have the Venom suit, right?
So without
Okay.
saying anything, the black suit Spider-Man is in it.
I've seen commercials for it, so I figured it's on TV. People, yeah.
Well, I haven't seen the commercials, so I don't want to sit there and say anything that's not in there. I will
Okay.
say that the really cool thing is the revisionist history that
Okay.
they do with it, because I don't know if you know my opinion of Miles Morales. I think that the comic books haven't really been good for his creation.
Hmm.
And I am trying to get off of here, Tino. I'm not trying to keep you. Um, but the Into the Spider-Verse movies and this game, and maybe even the previous Miles Morales portion, that came out on PS5,
Hmm.
really, really, really do a lot to make Miles Morales a really competent Spider-Man.
Okay.
Whereas I don't think the comics have ever done that. Uh, if I did have to give a downside to the entire thing, have you played Last of Us?
Yes.
Have you played Last of Us 2?
Yes.
Okay. Did you finish Last of Us 2?
Yes.
So in Last of Us 2, you got to play as Ellie and you got to play as Abby, right?
Right.
And by the way, folks, the game's been out for years, so get over it. They made Abby the cooler character to play as. In this game, they make Miles the better and more fun character to play as.
Okay.
And I don't think that's fair to Peter.
Okay.
Because I mean, the way the game is Peter's 25 years old and he's been Spider-Man for 9 years or 9 years, whatever. And Miles is like 16 and he's been Spider-Man for a year. And Miles has all the cool powers.
Okay. Oh yeah, I don't want to give much away, but all right.
Nope, that's it. That's it. That's all I'll say. The story's excellent. I would play fully through it. Um, I'm starting Alan Wake 2 tomorrow, so I had to get through the main story of Spider-Man 2 because Alan Wake 2, I'm going to be streaming it on my Twitch channel, and we can go ahead and end the show. I'll
Yes.
start saying Rob Potsy Pochak is my Twitch channel.
Give them all.
Oh, okay. At Pochak on Twitter or X. Rob Potsy Pochak on Instagram, and of course, Rob Pochak on Facebook. And then, of course, here on YouTube, the Rob Pochak channel. So, Tino?
And you can catch us on the Twitter, the Potsy and Tino. Facebook, we're the Potsy and Tino show. On Twitter, I am HoodieFan91. On the Snapchat, I am SC Tino. Instagram is SC Tino. Like he said, we're here each and every week on the Pots and Pan Network right here. You want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for the wrestling song, which you can get on iTunes for 99 cents 99. And until next week, folks, we are out. and you can't teach that.